All right, celebrate no pre-lesson for 3-9 linear functions day 1. But a quick review. It says write an equation of the line through 1, 5, and 4, 7. Now remember when we did these things, this is kind of a review day. That's why I'm not doing a pre-lesson. You got to find two things. You got to find slope and you got to find the y-intercept. The only exception is if you discover that it's I'll just get out my pink marker, if it's a horizontal line like this, because you got to kind of be painting a picture in your head while you're doing these problems or looking at the clues. See, that'd be y equals 2. If you discover it's a horizontal line. Now let's say this is 2 to the left, and it's like that, then that guy would be x equals negative 2. So you got to be on the hunt for those, because those are the easiest ones. How would you know? Well, hopefully one of them will pop up and we'll talk about it. But you can see we don't have a match for our x's. We do not have a match for our y's. So therefore, it's not going to be one of these. We got to find our slope and y-intercept. Well, we got to use that formula, and this formula needs to be, just handy. I'm going to call the first one x1, y1. I'm going to call the next one x2, y2. And here we go. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. 7 minus 5 is 2. 4 minus 1 is 3. We just found our slope. Now, what do we do with that? Well, we know that this is our target. So we're going to put our slope in because we found it. And remember, we got 2 points. We can pick whichever one we want, whichever one we think is easier to plug in here to find my b. I'm going to go with this one because of this 1. So y equals 2/3 times 1 plus b. Well, I know this is 2/3, so I'm going to subtract 2/3. And, I know that this is 5 minus 2/3, so maybe I'll just take the easy way out and say that's 4 1/3 equals b. And now I got my b and I got my m, so y equals mx plus, doesn't have to be plus, it can be minus, but this is actually 4 1/3. Now if I was to do that differently and find common denominators, 5 would be 15 thirds, and then I'd go 15 thirds minus 2/3, which would be 13 thirds, which is the same thing as 4 1/3. So I could go like this and go 13 thirds. Either one of these is fine. Okay? All right, so what is this looking stuff? Well, if you remember the previous day's lesson, you won't panic, because you see this right here? They're saying f of 0 equals -3. What this really means is if you let x be 0, then f of x, or y, would equal -3. So honestly, it's like giving you a little domain and range thing, and it's saying, hey, your first x is 0, your y is -3, your next x is -1, your next y is -8. So it is like saying, hey, it goes through 0, -3, and it goes through -1, -8. Now, I didn't mention this in the previous problem, but something big time is jumping out at me, and this is like a little advantage if you can just think along the way. Sometimes a little gift comes along. If I was to plot that point, 0, -3, wouldn't that be my y-intercept? So that's a gift. They're saying, hey, b is -3. So all you got to do now is find the slope. Well, I'm going to call this x1, y1. I'm going to call this x2, y2, and plug it into that formula here. Okay? So y2 is -8, y1 is -3. Look out for those double negatives. X sub 2 is negative 1 minus 0. Well, that's negative 8 plus 3, so that's negative 5. And this is just negative 1, so my slope is 5. Look at it. I got my m, I got my y-intercept. Put those together. Y equals mx and then b. Thank goodness they're not telling us to put it in standard form. You know what I'm saying? All right. Well, something unique is jumping out about this one. And you got to be on the hunt for this stuff. So there's this, and there's this. You know what that's saying? For this one, y equals negative 1. For this one, y equals negative 1. And when you notice something unique about that, and you actually kind of thought for a second, and I'm going to take a little peek. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1. 1, 2, 3, because that's left 3. Negative 1. Hey, that's just a horizontal line. And I know the name of that is y equals negative 1. Now, let's say somebody didn't notice that little clue. Well, then you would have to see this as point 4, negative 1, and you would see this as point negative 3, negative 1. We don't have our y-intercept, we don't have our slope, so we're going to start with this x1, y1, x2, y2. Plug these things in, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So negative 1 plus 1 is 0. 0 over negative 7 is 0. And at this time, you should be able to go, hey, wait a minute. This has 0 slope? I remember there was something weird about vertical lines, but that's no slope. Horizontal lines, 0 slope. And at this time, you should go back and go, wait a minute. I see that these are matchers. So then you'd be able to go y equals negative 1 and realize it's a horizontal line. Okay? Easy if you pick up on the little clue. All right. So, do we have a match in our x's? No. Do we have a match in our y's? No. But if we look at this point, look at that. That point is actually 0, 0. I know this is strange, but that's telling me that it goes through the origin. You know what that means? My y-intercept is 0. So all you got to do is figure out your slope. So, all right, I'm going to call this x1, y1. I'm going to call this x2, y2. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, negative 2 over 3. So if that's my slope, I just put it where it belongs. I could put plus 0 if I want. But when you look at your answer, it's probably just going to be this, because there's an implied plus 0 if it's written like that. All right. So here we go. Do we have a match in our x's? Close, but no cigar. How about our y's? Nope. So this one, is this on my y-intercept if I was to plot this point 3, 2? No. Is this one 3, 12? No. So they did not give me my slope. They did not give me a horizontal or vertical. So this is just your classic problem where you have to find both. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x2 minus x1. 12 minus 2 is 10. 3 minus a negative 3 is 6. So we reduce that and I get 5/3. What do I do with this? Well, that's my slope. So I'm going to pick one of these points. Remember, I got y equals mx plus b. I still need to find my y-intercept. So it'd be nice if I knew an x and a y, and I have a pair here and a pair here. So which ones do you want? I'll just pick this one. So my y is 2. My x is negative 3 plus b. Now notice we have a chance to cross reduce here, but that's a negative 1. So that's 2 equals negative 5 plus b. Add 5, I get 7 equals b. I got my slope, I got my y-intercept, put them together, y equals 5/3 x plus b. A lot of times students start forgetting to put that x there. Do not start forgetting. If you forget to put that x there, is 100% wrong, because then you could make this 7 5/3, and then it's actually turning it into a horizontal line, and that is not what this is. So be careful, okay? Last couple. So this right here is telling you find the equation. These things are two separate problems. So this is like problem number 1, problem number 2, problem number 3. So with the time remaining, I should be able to get this in. What this is saying is just build an equation, just like you've been doing all through here. So here's my x1. Well, maybe I better do this because I've been doing it on the other ones. That is actually the point 1, -6. And this is -3, 2. Now I got x1, y1, x2, y2. Notice I don't have a match in my x's. I don't have a match in my y's. This is not my y-intercept. This is not my y-intercept. There's no little hidden gifts. So y sub 2 minus y sub 1, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So 2 plus 6 is 8. -3 minus 1 is -4. So I get -2. There's my slope. So I go y equals mx plus b. Still got to find my y-intercept. So I'm going to pick this first point right here. So y equals mx plus b. So I got to add 2. And I'm running out of space a little bit, but -4 equals b. Put this together with this, and I found my equation. Y equals mx and then b. I'm done with problem number 1. The answer to number 1 is right here. But the problem is really saying find f of 30. You know what that means? Take the y, think of it as f of x, but then actually plug in x is 30. So I'm going to go -2 times 30 minus 4. That's -60 minus 4 is -64. But now it says find f of -35, which means take this equation, put in -35 for x. So -2 times -35 minus 4. This is 70 minus 4, which would be 66. And that'll do it, folks.